You don't want to be driven around by your pregnant wife, and I suggest you start driving properly.
Stop talking about my driving, please. Please, please,
No,
please,
I will
please,
never stop
please,
talking
please,
about
please,
your
please,
driving.
please.
Unbearable, uncomfortable. He left. He moved out like a few days ago.
They're gonna be staying in a guest. My mom gonna stay in a
Which
dog
guest
room.
room?
This one guest room in our lab.
Our room?
No, this is not your room. This is guest room.
And that's why I'm so hurt, because it's like someone receiving a life sentence for a crime that they never did. That's how it feels.
I want to invite you to come to Michigan.
I would love to. Absolutely, but what's there to do in Michigan?
Este o petrecere pentru că noi am decis să ne mutăm în Moldova. Da, Elizabeth?
I'm very limited in my vocabulary. So some things get lost in translation, and this is actually one of those moments.
All of these couples are at the F around and find out portion of their relationships because all of the red flags that they overlooked are coming to the surface, and they are bright and they are ugly. There's so much to cover. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We are here to discuss 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After. This is a recap video. I can't wait to get into it with you. As always, I'm going to include timestamps in the description so you can skip around as you please. And while you're here, make sure to like and comment and subscribe if you're new. So starting us off with this mess is Brandon and Julia. They have finally been introduced to this new season. We just saw them at the last resort. And quite honestly, I'm annoyed with Julia, even though I like her more than Brandon. And then Brandon, I simply just cannot stand. He is such a man-child. And I think what I hate more about their situation is that his parents are always added in because they bring in the drama, but they are insufferable. And if you disagree, I'm very sorry that we disagree on that, but I believe that we should cherish our parents. But when you are an adult, you do need to cut the cord. Brandon is still breastfeeding. So I think I've said enough to set the tone, okay? Jumping into this season, they open it up with this cringe role play moment. If you guys recall in the last resort, they're having serious issues in intimacy. Julia has said that she doesn't really need it as much, and he needs it, and so there's a disconnect. I think that there's something more. I think that she's just not attracted to this man anymore. But still, here they are pretending that he is a pizza delivery guy and she is a damsel in distress that does not have the coin. When I tell you that this is far from sexy, and I think an added element to that is that they're on camera, so I'm sure that that makes it extra awkward. However, for a couple that has been married and been together for so long, they seem to have like zero chemistry. And it looks like they're having the same fight still about, having kids and whether or not her parents should come. Initially, she really wanted her parents to come live there. I think they've compromised to having her parents come visit for a month. And it's a big deal that they're coming. But her parents are not together. They are divorced and they fight often. So they're welcoming them and she's preparing separate rooms. When she brings this up to Brandon, Brandon is like, but one of them is my parents' room. And she's like, no, your parents do not have a room in our house. That is the guest room. Now, it looks to be that his mom, who can't cut the cord, has not only a key to their home, which I think, it's fine for safety reasons, but she has brought in so much of her crap to their house. That doesn't make sense to me because his parents live in a big ass farm, a plethora of land that she can use for storage. I think that her bringing her crap to her son's house is a way to mark territory. And it is overflowing. It's overflowing in their living room. It's overflowing in this guest room in a bunch of drawers. So she's trying to make this cozy and welcoming for her parents. So she's literally moving things into boxes for her mother-in-law, and there's still drawers on drawers left. That would never happen for me. Unless you are sick and bedridden and we take you in, there is absolutely no reason why you should have your things all over like you live here. I'm sorry. I am not about that. And just in general, just seeing how they interact, I'm like, Brandon is such a shit partner. He is complaining nonstop about the stress that this visit is going to cause because whenever they have issues, Julia takes it out on him. But Julia has had to deal with your parents for years. You can handle her parents for a month. And so leading into his parents, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed in the house, like pipes, things like that. It costs a lot of money to get that fixed. So he is taking it on himself. He is not so great at it. So he's calling in his parents. Well, his dad. His mom is just there to be in everyone's business. So we see them pull up. Julia comes in from walking the dogs. They're asking her how she is. They start asking about her parents' visit and where they're going to stay. And Julia's like, oh, they're going to stay here in the 2 rooms. And this lady is like, in our room? And Julia's like, you don't have a room in my house. And she's like, well, we're not supposed to come visit while they're here because they've taken over our room. And Julia's like, you live an hour and a half away. You can come and then you can take your ass home. She did not say it like that, but that is how I wanted her to say it so bad. Because why are you making this about you? You are up their butthole day in, day out. Let her parents have the spotlight for a month, but they cannot handle it. They are so selfish. And so Brandon, who is a child, is not helping in the situation. And he's seeing that both of his parents are going at Julia, telling her that she does, she's not about the family, this and that. He decides to pile on his wife and is like, you're not even being helpful. You're not here helping me with pipes. And you also didn't go get the second opinion to check if we can have babies. Do you think that she wants to have a baby with a man-child that never has her back? Imagine bringing an actual child into this. And so then his mom does this thing where she likes to offer up help, but it's like pushing it on you. And Julia's like, no, thank you. Like, I really don't need your help. I got this. This is something that me and Brandon should do. And that's, I think, when his dad was like, what is it with you lately? You're not about the family. And it's just so gross that they're all like on her. And she like walks off crying. And this lady starts talking shit about her, being like, oh, she's so selfish after everything we've done. What have you done except annoy the crap out of her and breastfeed your son? What have you done?
She doesn't appreciate. She's turning into a brat. She's turning into a spoiled brat, and she doesn't appreciate half the stuff that we've tried to do and help her.
And if you're new to Brandon and Julia, his mom is notorious for overstepping. When Julia first came to America, she was really pressed about their sex life because they did have a booming sex life at the time. And his mom literally got birth control for Julia without Julia asking for it. Like, it was super invasive, super in her business. So I'm sure that that's bringing Julia back. Like, no, stay away from my uterus. I do not need your help. So Julia's in, she's upset. This lady comes in to try to, offer up help. But really, she needs control. And Julia is like, you don't get to control me. You're not my mom, So Julia's venting to this lady, like, listen, this is traumatic for me. I've already heard once that I can't have children. To get a second opinion and possibly get this information again is anxiety inducing. And I need Brandon to stop putting on pressure and to handle this with care. And as she's like expressing this to the mom and being like, I don't need help. I just need care. I need this to be handled delicately. This lady just doesn't like that Julia's not listening to her and taking on her advice. And she goes like this to Julia. Like, then go.
I want to be alone. I want to see anybody. Wait. This is my house. You can't do this to me.
And Julia, see, I'd have been like, lady, you're on timeout from coming to my house. Give me your keys until you know how to act. Julia is like flabbergasted that this happened. And she's like, you don't get to do that in my house. You don't get to shoo me away. And she leaves because she's really trying to practice restraint from cursing this lady out, which she has deserved for years. She's literally mother-in-law from hell. Because she does the thing where she pretends to be helpful and nice. So Julia goes away and she starts passive-aggressively like washing dishes. This is not your house. But she likes to appear as like a martyr, like, oh, look at all the things that I do for them and they're so ungrateful. You need to get out of that lady's house. It's one thing to offer advice. Like, that's what parents are for. I totally understand that. But to be big mad that she's not taking it and then acting like she's ungrateful when she's a grown-ass adult that can make her own decisions is crazy to me. And I really had high hopes that Julia would divorce this man-child at the last resort. I really wanted her to so bad because he's gonna get worse. He is enabled by his parents. He feels so empowered to be an extra big a-hole when they're present. He will never have her back. He never does. We've seen it time and time again. It is so disgusting. And again, I would not want to procreate with someone like that. So could Julia be making excuses? It's possible. That's where we leave them. Jumping into another couple that should have never procreated because she's also with a man-child is THROUPLE and Adnan. We see them drive off to the first ultrasound appointment that he'll be included in. So it's supposed to be a big deal. They're supposed to be on a high. And he is cranky. Mr. Princess is so cranky that the cabin is not ready yet. And he is swerving up roads. He's driving fast. But remember, he told THROUPLE that he cares for her safety and that his pregnant wife should not be driving. Yet he's driving like a madman. And she's like, babe, like, you can't drive like that. You need to follow the rules. And every time she says something, he's always like, stop talking, THROUPLE. You're making me angry. Stop talking. And it's just like this constant whining. And you could see that she is so uncomfortable. She's just panicking because she's like, you're putting us in danger. Also, you're not from here. You're not following the rules. I don't want us to get pulled over. I don't want you to get arrested. Like, you're causing unnecessary stress. And so then they arrive to the place and she's outside crying because she's like, I don't even feel like going into this. You ruined it. This was supposed to be a momentous moment and you were acting like an a-hole. And so he's now pissy that she's upset. But it's like, you can't be mad that she's mad that you did something that pissed her off. And so he clearly wants her to just be over it. And she's like, no, we can either get past it or we can remain like this. But you need to take accountability. So we find her literally coaching him into making a proper apology. If I had to coach a man on how to apologize to me because his frontal lobe is not developed and he just is simply the most selfish person on earth, I would want to just rot in the same spot that I'm standing. Because that is my personal hell. He really thinks he did nothing wrong. And he takes zero accountability at all times. And he's like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know the rules. She tried to tell you that you didn't know the rules. And you made her seem like she was an idiot for wanting to drive her own car. So which one is it? You can't lack ignorance, but then be like, oh, I know everything because I'm the man. Which one is it, Mr. Princess? And you could see that THROUPLE realized, maybe for the first time ever, that she is raising another child. And I want to feel bad for her. And I do, because she's pregnant and she shouldn't have to deal with that. But ultimately, she did choose this man. And so then they get into this appointment and he starts making a fuss about not wanting the camera crew, the guys, to like look at his wife's belly. So then the lady was super accommodating and put up a partition. And then there was a female crew member being able to tape THROUPLE and Adnan. But then he's like, oh, but I just want to be clear. I don't want my wife's belly on camera. And like, I understand that these are his beliefs, but this is not THROUPLE's beliefs. She's not a Muslim. And she's being super accommodating. But I think this is, again, a way of him to coerce her into his beliefs. And he positions this in a way where it makes her think that she's chosen this. But every step of the way, she has not. And THROUPLE is like, you know, I love that he's like this because it's so protective. But I'm like, THROUPLE girl, you were just crying 2 minutes ago about how he put your life in danger. And now he's protective? Which one is it? This is the same person. She honestly sounds brainwashed. But anyway, they make it through this ultrasound appointment. But then we see them at a restaurant right after, and the vibes are cold. So it's like they never made up. So I'm like, what's going on now? I think part of it is that she's hormonal and her emotions are super heightened. So like everything on this day is really pissing her off. And she's looking at him and her rose goggles are just off today. And she's pissy because basically she found out when she came out of the bathroom, I guess, that he's been lying. That he has been smoking cigarettes. Apparently they came up with an agreement that once she got pregnant, he would quit smoking. And if he picked it up again, he would let her know. And he didn't. So she had to basically like catch him in a lie. And she's like, you lied. You didn't keep your word. You told me that you would tell me. And he was like, well, I'm telling you now. She's like, no, I had to pull it out of you. And he's like, well, that's your problem. She's like, it's my problem that you can't keep your promises. So we're gonna keep secrets from each other? Great, good to know.
You are, trust me or not, this is your problem, not my problem.
You broke my trust.
This is not my problem, your problem.
Do you like even hear yourself right now?
And sure, I think that she is upset about him smoking, but I think this issue is presenting itself as like a magnified look into her issues, that she doesn't trust him and that he does keep secrets and that everything is rushed and she never really knows his true intentions until it's too late. Like the Muslim thing. When they got married, he told her that she didn't need to convert. Like, he accepted her the way she is. And the minute she got pregnant, he's like, I want my wife to do this. I want my wife to do that. Cover up. Do this. So she's like, I can't trust you. Like, how can I follow you to lead if you're so secretive? We saw this coming from a mile away, but that's where they're at. And going from one secretive man to another, let's go to Libby and Andrei. So we see them packing up for Moldova, and Andrei is like bringing out a million luggages, okay? And Libby's like, whoa, how many are we packing? Like, are we packing up our whole lives? And yes, Libby, that is the goal. That is exactly what he wants. He's like, oh, we're allowed 2 suitcases per person. And she's like, Andrei, how are we gonna go around the airport with 8 luggages and 2 toddlers? Like, how do you think this is gonna happen? So she's like, you know, freaking out because of course she's doing most of the heavy lifting. All he's doing is bringing her things to pack. But she also reveals that her dad is gonna join them a week in. And I think that this is, you know, a great move on her part because she needs someone on her side to be able to help her decide if this move is correct for her. Andrei can suss this out, and he is nervous because Chuck is probably the only remaining family member on her end that he gets along with, and he would hate for their relationship to be ruined. And also, he likes that Chuck gives him money, so he would hate to ruin that. And every time I see them, I'm like, ugh, Andrei is the worst. He truly is. I've never liked him. But Libby is up there for me because I feel like she sets up everyone. She is clearly not on board with none of the plans that Andrei has. And she vents to people, and then people vouch for her and look out for her best interest. And then she turns on them. Because how dare you? How dare you say what I said in my defense? Always. So I just don't feel bad for her. So like every step that I'm watching her get bamboozled in Moldova, I'm like, wow, the sky is blue. And we do see them land in Moldova. His very sweet father is there. I don't know how Andrei came out of this man. This man is greeting Libby with flowers, and he's just, you know, so loving. And Andrei is a mama's boy, and Libby knows that. And while they're in Moldova for the next month or so, or longer, they're going to be living with his parents in this smaller apartment, and his mother is overbearing. So she's super overwhelmed, and on top of that, they lost a few luggages, if not all. So she's like, we don't have our kids' like comfort things. We don't even have our toothbrush. This is already rocky. They get to the house. There's people there. They get greeted with food and stuff. And everyone's like, oh my God, welcome to Moldova. We hope that you stay. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to convince her. And Libby is picking up on some of the language. And she's like, I can tell a little bit when you're talking crap about me, you know? And she's like, oh, we'll see how things go. And then it's thrown on her that Andrei has thrown a party the next day. And he had discussed nothing of the sort with her. So she's pissy. She's tired. He didn't communicate any of the plans. Who's paying for this? Like, there's a lot at play. So she's annoyed. She's trying to be nice because they're in front of family, you know? The next day, she wakes up. Well, barely, because she barely slept. She's cranky. There's construction sounds going around. The light bulb is flickering. That would give me a major headache. She's just like, what the hell? And then his mom keeps coming into their room, asking them to come for breakfast. And they're like, we're coming, we're coming. The babies are cranky. They're obviously not adjusted. Having a party the day after you travel like that is terrible timing. But anyway, they pull up to the party that night. Libby's mouth drops because she goes in and there's a big old band. There's all these people. It's like a fancy hall. And it brought me back to their wedding. Andrei in Moldova is a completely different person. He's such a showboat. He is turning up the charm. He wants everything to be the finest everything. And I remember how ridiculous their wedding was in Moldova because Chuck paid for it. It was like everything had to be big and bold. And this is no different. And this is supposed to be a homecoming party, right? And this is where Libby's language skills start failing her, because when they're all seated, this guy pulls the mic and he's like, thank you all so much for welcoming me. You know, Libby and I have decided that we are going to move to Moldova. Right, Libby? And Libby is smiling because she has no idea what he just said. He literally just told all these people, laying it on thick, that they are moving. Because the minute she says that she doesn't want to move, she's gonna be the bad guy because he's already told everyone. How embarrassing. And this is another situation where he has led her to believe that she has this choice. But every time he speaks to literally anyone else, he's like, I'm gonna make her. It's gonna be an ultimatum. She has no choice or else. But then to Libby's face, he's like, oh yeah, we'll see if you like it. It's gonna be easy. Like, you're overcomplicating it. To then tell everyone that they're going to, bananas. And I can't wait for her to rip him a new one. And the final portion, he makes everyone come out, and then this man just pulls out fireworks. It's this beautiful fireworks show, but it is so ridiculous because it's not a wedding. It's not a birthday. It's just a random welcome home function. And he has made this into like a spectacle. And she is smiling, but you could tell that she's embarrassed. This is just so extra. And I remember that one of the reasons that they wanted to move to Moldova was because they get to save money. But if he's going to be living out like this, their money is going to run out quick. And she's the breadwinner back in America. A shit show. Let's move on to Jasmine and Gino, another shit show. So after Gino left Jasmine in the street, in the park, she's with a whole camera crew. She's not by herself in the dark. But that is definitely how they made it look. And she literally looks like trash. Like he disposed her like garbage. And the imagery alone would be mortifying for me. And I think that she's definitely playing into it. You know, like, Gino really like did me dirty. A lot of things led to that moment. And she's going on and on about the fact that him wanting a divorce on the grounds that she cheated on him feels like someone being sent to death row, like while they're innocent. And I'm like, Jasmine, this is quite a connection to make, but you're not innocent. You were involved with Matt emotionally long before it was agreed. Long before Gino even knew of Matt's actual existence. Like, she's not making the point that she thinks she's making, you know? But she's crying. At this point, she has like something over her, so she is making herself look like homeless, which I think it's insulting to actual homeless people because she lives with her boyfriend. She has been living with him for 4 months. There he comes to take them back to their home because that is where she lives. And she's crying. He like picks her up. He's like, baby, don't think about that loser. He's picking her things up. They're in the car. And she's like, it went terribly. He did me dirty. And he wants a divorce. And this guy is trying so hard not to smile because he has told us, and he's repeated it this episode, that he wanted Gino to act out, that he's happy that he did, so that she could come to her senses and realize that he's the one for her, that he's always the one picking up the pieces. Yeah, you're always the one picking up the pieces when you shouldn't have because you were overstepping with a married woman. So how are y'all innocent?
Actually see what's worth her time and see that I'm the one that's picking up the pieces. I'm the one that's always supporting her. So she can see what a real man looks like.
And even going by what Jasmine says, like, oh, you were only talking to him because he was picking you up to the gym. It is inappropriate for you to be on the phone while you're married with another man for an hour. That is unnecessary. You don't need to be on the phone for an hour to coordinate gym pickup. That is BS. And she's just like, Gino is accusing me of all these things that are just not right. It's all his imagination. And Matt is corroborating her story too. But again, like everything that they've done is just sus and guilty and it's documented. So she's here just like, he never cared for me. Wow, like it was all a lie. And she's just acting like this girl that's like so deeply in love with her husband. And don't get me wrong, I do believe that there was a time that she did love him. But I think that her need for power, her need to be on top over Gino, weighed out the love part. And same thing for him. I think that in the beginning, there was a lot of love, and I think once she hit America, I think that he reclaimed the power, but then it got nasty because it was just always a power struggle of wanting to be right, never about the big picture. But that's it for Jasmine for this episode. We see Gino at Goodwill, his favorite place because he loves a bargain, which we already knew. And he's here looking for a new coffee pot because he gave Jasmine's back. And she told him that he could keep it, and he was like, no, you need to have it. So now here he is looking for a better one, and he's having no luck. He's looking at hats. He starts thinking about Natalie and gives her a call. And Natalie's like, does the small talk, and he, does some modeling of hats for her. But she's like, okay, so did you talk to Jasmine? He's like, yeah, it was rough. It looks like she wanted to get back with me, but I told her I wanted a divorce. And Natalie is asking all of the great follow-up questions. She's like, what did you tell her? How did she react? How did you feel about that? Because she's like, I don't want to be in the middle. I want to know that, like, you've been clear and that you got some sort of closure. And Gino's like, I don't know about closure, but she knows where I'm at. I forgot to mention, he mentioned something about, even though he told Jasmine that he wants a divorce, he hasn't started the process because he doesn't want something about the market and him not wanting Jasmine to get his money for free. I didn't understand that part, except the fact that he's cheap and doesn't like to pay for lawyers. So I didn't really get that. If you guys understood that, please let me know in the comments. But I thought that was so strange. And again, I think that he is gonna dangle the divorce thing as a power thing over Jasmine, especially when he finds out that she's pregnant and he could dangle her immigration status. I know for a fact he's gonna do that then, but we're not there yet. But anyway, he mentioned that. So he's telling Natalie all these things about the divorce, and he tells us through the camera that he really likes Natalie. They're really vibing. He feels like so light in comparison to how he feels with Jasmine, but he needs to get to know her more. So then he invites Natalie to Michigan, and that's going to be a shit show because I think that is when we're going to get the altercation between Natalie and Jasmine. If anything, I think that he's just expanding this universe of mess. So that's it for them this episode. Let's move on to Kara and Guillermo. They're the final couple today. When we see Kara, she's practicing bachata. She says bachata again, and I was like, girl, you're killing me. But she's practicing because she has an upcoming gig, and so far she feels like she's thriving in her career. After she has this gig, she's gonna fly to Spain and have this session with a producer, and she's feeling good about the networking and just being able to really live out her dreams. And she's having a hard time with Guillermo and him not really supporting, and she really hopes that he shows up for her in this new gig. And she's also talking about, how bachata and this particular song that she's practicing is about, wanting to slow down time with someone that you're into. And she's reminiscing about the passion that her and Guillermo used to have early on in their relationship, and now it's non-existent. So she really hopes that he steps up. We see Guillermo at his restaurant job. His supervisor is one of his friends, and I think the producers, set this up because his friend is like, so how's Kara's music career? And Guillermo says, it's cute. And automatically that pissed me off because he's already diminishing. He's already downplaying her efforts. But at least one of y'all is putting efforts, because you're just throwing dreams into the wind and doing nothing. She's hitting the ground running, and you should be supportive. There's just zero support, and I think that also inspires her to not be as eager to support him anymore, But he is saying that he is not a fan of the new age bachata because he likes the classics. And sure, I love the classics too. I'm a very big purist when it comes to bachata in terms of the dance form. But in terms of the sound, I'm all for the new age stuff that's happening. And even if you don't like it, the person that you love likes it, and you should take some sort of interest. You don't have to be an expert, but if this is what she's basing her career off of, you may want to support. And the friend is in agreement. He's like, okay, you don't like going to the clubs, you don't like, the places that she's performing, but that is what she needs to do to network, to get the word out there. to get people to listen. It's not about what you like. It's about showing up for your partner. And his friend is like, you need to go. You need to show up for her. You need to support. And he also complained about their lack of intimacy, that it's been 3 months and they have not been sleeping together. But he's also not taking accountability that the reason that they're not sleeping together is because he started it. They got into a disagreement and he didn't talk to her for 3 days. And during those 3 days, he started sleeping apart. So she's like, you know what? This feels right, given that you're not safe for me. So he wants to close the gap, but he's not making the moves to close it, right? The last scene that we see is Kara looking around in her home, and it's all these pictures of her and Guillermo during happier times. And she is crying because as of a few days, Guillermo moved out. And she asked him to move out because things got so uncomfortable. He started accusing her of cheating because he saw her smiling while texting. Now, Kara effed up when he asked her who you're texting, and she told him, it's none of your business.
He thinks that I'm cheating on him. When he asked me who I was writing, I told him it's none of his business. And so now he thinks it's a man.
Now, Kara girl, I understand that y'all have not been close, but this is your husband that you chose. You have not been sleeping together in any capacity for 3 months. He was just trying to do a temperature check that you're still in this with him. If you don't want someone to think that you are cheating, don't answer like that. That is an escalation. I understand that no one wants to be accused of something like that, but that could have been nipped in the bud. But to be like, it's none of your business, what? And so I guess things got so tense and she was like, it's best that you leave and hopefully we can work things out. And they say that they're hopeful in working it out. But I think that once you kick someone out, you might as well start drafting the divorce papers. Like, you are so far gone. Like, it's a choice that you make in 2 seconds to make your partner feel secure. Now, if it's an ongoing thing that he's constantly accusing, I totally understand her being like, you need to handle that. But if it just happened in a moment that he's like, wow, like, you've been so miserable with me and you're here laughing, looking at your phone, I understand how that thought could come about. I totally understand. But now they're living apart and they're fighting for this marriage for their kid, but y'all look miserable and your kid is gonna grow up and eventually catch on. So it's probably best that they do part. But I feel bad, you know, she's crying, looking at all these beautiful reminders of happier times, but those times are long gone. And that's it for this episode, you guys. I was like, ugh. All of the things that we push down, they eventually come to the surface. So it's so important to be honest with yourself early on. It's so important to ask yourself, am I holding on to this person because I'm afraid of being lonely? And that's a tough one to answer, but like, it's so much better to be alone and to take care of yourself and to water yourself than to be with someone that makes you rethink every single decision in your life. Because you're like, how did I get here? How am I so miserable? And I'm not saying you're going to be happy every time. If you're miserable 80% of the time, I mean, that speaks for itself. So that's it for this episode, you guys. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see you in the next one, which is Hunt for Love. Bye.